But there's no Christian Led Zeppelin, apparently. I tried to look up alternatives, and I couldn't really find good alternatives either.
No, I don't even want an alternative to Led Zeppelin. I want, we'll talk about this next week, but I don't want an alternative to Led Zeppelin. Just someone that sounds like them. I want someone who's as epic.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, there are no epic Christian bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DC Talk, maybe, but they're really only 25 years old.
Third Day?
Right. When you mean epic, what do you mean by epic? Like,
I mean, you talk to a rocker, someone talk to a rocker,
Yeah.
like, yeah, Zeppelin, man. Yeah. I mean,
you mean
and there's like this reverence.
So you
for
mean
it.
Chris Tomlin?
No, I do not mean Chris Tomlin.
Oh, you mean to tell me The Good Father isn't like a classic?
It is not. It is not. I don't even think it'll hold up in 20 years.
I don't think it'll hold up in 1 year.
Yeah.
So, Matt Redman?
See, here's the thing.
You've got Heart of Worship, like anything that's worship.
Okay, I feel like we've got to make it a distinction between. Daggone, we're talking about this.
Let's do it.
We have to make the distinction between worship music and all the rest of
Christian
the
music.
Yeah.
So you're talking about non-worship bands.
I don't listen to worship music.
Right.
And
I do.
yeah, but the thing that killed, but I don't think you're going to have a worship band that is going to become an epic Led Zeppelin.
You're going to
type.
have writers.
Right.
But
You'll
the
have,
writers aren't the performers.
Right. So and everybody's doing their own material.
Even
doing
like,
everyone else's material.
Matt
rather.
Redman is one of my faves.
Redman's great. Like for worship music, they're great.
Yes, for worship music. And my favorite thing about him is he's incredibly humble. Even on stage, if there's anybody else on stage, he'll step back and let them lead his own songs. He doesn't care. That's why I love him.
All the guys in the worship scene, I'm not saying they're not great people, but
and he writes great stuff.
Like
and
when I'm wanting to go
stuff.
like jamming down the road, and I want to roll the windows down and turn it up, it's not going to be Heart of Worship. It's not even going to be Ren Collective.
Is it bad that because you said epic like Zeppelin, like, oh, there's a reference. Unfortunately, do you think it's Skillet? Because they've been
not
around
for me.
Well, I mean, not for me either, but you know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, Christian band, Skillet or Red, maybe. I mean, I like Red, but they're not.
None of their stuff hooks. Like, Skillet hooks for me sometimes. Like, maybe I haven't given Red the chance that I should have.
I remember you got to be in the, Red's pretty heavy.
Yeah. I remember when they came out and I was just like, But I really didn't like the hard music that was coming out of the early 2000s. I just didn't care for it.
See, I dig Red, but that's just my style. So.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I know it doesn't exist. And I mean, you've got classic Christian bands. You've got because I mentioned Guardian last week, but they're not. But do what?
Mullins.
Rich Mullins is brilliant. Like, we can see eye to eye on Rich Mullins because that's a good singer-songwriter, an incredible performer.
He's the one that Awesome God?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he had so many more better songs.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't
get as much credit for.
He also
and he didn't like that song.
No, I don't blame it either since it became an anthem.
Yeah.
Because once something becomes a Christian, not yet, but I need to.
You probably need to see if it's on PureFlix before you cancel it.
But once I see something becomes a Christian anthem, then it becomes a Christian cliche.
That's why you don't like Chris Tomlin. I'm just kidding.
That is why I don't like Chris Tomlin. Exactly.
We'll never get a band like Queen though.
No, you won't, and that's the problem. I mean, because you go way far back into the '70s. Because I mean, some people are like, well, Led Zeppelin, you have to go back in time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, all you're gonna have is like Larry Norman and a few others, and like the early version of Petra.
See, I think Christian music, when they come out with their original albums, they try and sound new, and a lot of them do a really good job. Casting Crowns did a really good job with their premiere album.
Yeah.
10th Avenue North is one of my favorite premiere albums.
Right.
But once they start making 2, 3, 4,
it all falls off.
And
that's common in a lot of music.
Yeah.
It goes back into that
Casting Crowns really
cutter.
Started going downhill after Life Song, I thought, in my option.
Yeah, like their first couple albums were great.
First album was great.
So in Christian music, I mean, no, I've got to split another hair here. I'm sorry. So you got worship, and then you've got Christian contemporary,
and then you've got the hard stuff,
which is quasi worship.
She just points at me. She does the wax on, wax
there's like
off
6 other things before you get to hard stuff. If hard has to be on the far end of the spectrum, but the Christian contemporary stuff, which is like soccer mom music, is what I call that. And to my mind, that's what Casting Crowns was for me. I wasn't. So I was never into Casting Crowns.
They had the lyrics. And they were.
We all know I don't care about lyrics.
You don't care about lyrics.
Yeah, but they were semi-new.
Can you write me a hook
for the time?
Yeah,
I
don't know they were. They were soft Third Day. That's all they ever were. They were softer Third Day, and Third Day was just Alabama
Camp
rock.
had some really good stuff
Jeremy
back in the
Camp did
day
have
too.
some
That
good
had
stuff.
some like pretty heavy guitar stuff.
Yeah.
In it. I mean, it was his very worship driven, but a lot of it, Worthy of My Praise is one song that like I know when I've heard it, it's a lot.
Where he's singing like the guy from Creed.
Well, yeah, but I think he's better.
Worthy.
But I think he's better than the guy from Creed.
Yeah.
because his arms are not wide open.
That's right.
And then you've got
That's
Todd
right.
Agnew, who writes stuff in the face of Christianity, like My
Yeah.
Jesus. Like, you guys wouldn't recognize him when he walks into the door, and it's like,
Yeah.
that hurts, but yeah.
Well, here's where I think the problem might lie in this whole thing. It's that when a band is really good, they don't stop. So Led Zeppelin stopped. Aerosmith, they stop sometimes. Rolling Stones stop, and then they come back out on tour. All the bands with longevity, like always go back to Petra because they've been around since 1976, and they had an entire run where they replaced every member in their band, and this set up a really stupid precedent. They replaced every member of their band at some point all the way through for the next 30 years, and then they have a big finale show. 2 years later or 3 years later, Classic Petra comes out with one of the original lineups. So you have that version of Petra going, and then someone else does another version of Petra. So you got two. So now you've diluted your brand. So you can't have something that's as brilliant as like a classic rock band that you can't have the Beatles, you can't have Zeppelin of Christian music. DC Talk, they quit, and so if they came back out with another record or decided to do another tour, they're going to kill it. Like I'll go see that show. If DC
Are you
Talk
going
does
on
it.
that cruise that they talked about?
That's already happened.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, yeah. No, I wasn't
So
going
you
to pay.
didn't go on the cruise?
No, I wasn't going to pay $2,000 to go on a cruise, but I just didn't want to. I don't like boats that much. But here's the problem: Newsboys, been around since 1988, hasn't stopped. Replaced every member of their band. They're on their third lead singer, which is Michael Tate from DC Talk. Okay, Audio Adrenaline, same problem.
Still going?
They quit for a while.
Oh, okay.
Then Kevin Max came in front of them with a whole new lineup of people that no one knows. And then
not
Max
change
quit.
names?
Kevin Max quit.
This brand
and then they
recognition.
just brought in some other guy, and like pretty much Audio Adrenaline was going to be the house band for Acquire the Fire. The problem is there are producers out there that owns the intellectual property to these bands. They own the names. And so they're just going to keep
sign
going.
contracts with people
They're
instead
going to keep
of
going
setting
back
something up
to
new.
the, yeah. So that's the
Well,
problem.
so the problem isn't the bands.
No, the problem
and it's
isn't
not
the band.
music.
The
The
problem's the
problem
industry.
is the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not picking on the bands. I'm not, I don't blame them for not writing the most epic song in the world. I mean, that's whatever. That's subjective, but like
I was
the
gonna
brand
say,
is being
a lot of the whole epic thing with Led Zeppelin to
Yeah.
me is kind of like it depends on what band you're talking about because
Oh yeah, I can say epic, insert your favorite epic band to
Yeah.
you. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm talking about there.
Right.
Yeah. But that's why we're never going to have this because
Because the industry has fallen.
yeah.
well and really I mean there are songs out there that we all recognize but like Christian songs but who is ever going to write another Stairway to Heaven especially
one.
especially in the Christian field
Who's going to ever write another Jesus Freak?
Matt Remond. I'm just kidding.
No. He's got good stuff. Just,
Most of the stuff you don't know is his till you dig
Oh,
into
yeah.
it.
I think I've been trying to be subjective about my musical tastes because I've been trying to find Christian music again because I feel a little guilty. Because we said last week, I was saying it died in the early 2000s. And you were like, well, to you, right?
Yeah.
And I said, there was an industry drop. We know that. And there was, I'm not blaming worship music on it, but when worship music started trending, all these Christian bands started going, oh, what? You know what we need now? It's a worship album.
Right.
Like that was a thing. That was
Yeah, it was totally a thing.
it's a bad trend is what it was because one, I don't feel like it was genuine.
One, everybody was repeating the same songs over and over.
Yeah, and I think they were just told by their record company, hey, you've got to do this now.
It was sort of the Awesome God sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, it was terrible. And it was something that just needed. Have you heard the Skillet worship record?
Nope.
Didn't need to be made.
like he's like watching the Star Wars Christmas video
Right. That's what these
they
were.
try to bury it.
It's not. It just wasn't.
Best Christian
wasn't
album
good.
I've ever heard was August Burns Red, and they did metal covers of Christmas songs. No lyrics. It was just all instrumental.
Oh, nice.
It was really. That's where we always talk about Carol of the Bells here. We're always talking about the metal version. That's where
Yeah.
it comes from because that version's so good.
Oh, wow.